The loner, the stoic, the wise needs no validation, the superb word.
Sometimes keeping the real will get you penalized.
What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Jerome. I am back with a very important video. This time around, I want to break down what's behind the soft girl persona. First of all, let me say I am not a psychiatrist, so I don't have the authority or ability to diagnose anybody with any kind of personality disorder. This is just my perspective and my opinion based on my own experiences. My motive for doing this video is I've noticed that even with my perceived level of intelligence or discernment, there is still a certain type of woman that can tend to get close to infiltrating me. And this quote unquote entity of woman, she can be stimulating to a man's ear by way of a soft tone and charismatic and sensual voice, gratifying to in a sexual sense. Now, I guess that points to one of my weaknesses, but she's also compatible with a man's desire for peace by way of her agreeableness, easygoing nature, and malleable attitude, implying that she is emotionally adaptable. In addition to those things, she is in alignment with the man's beliefs of in the righteous God, right? Who promotes patience, grace, respect, being slow to anger, being understanding and compassionate, being kind and non-judgmental. This is what I call the soft girl persona, right? Now, let's go ahead and break that down. The soft girl persona can look like a woman who claims to be a homebody and isn't inside and going through a whole phase. Number two is she's non-superficial, has no non-superficial preferences, as far as men are concerned, like his height, build, race, income, or status. Yeah, never heard that in a modern woman. Number three, she's God-fearing. She claims to be either spiritual or religious. Doesn't matter. Not important in this video to differentiate. Number four, she's self-sufficient and doesn't like to ask for anything. She probably doesn't like the word no, but this is how she words it. But she doesn't like to beg or feel like she's begging or feel entitled to anything. Number five, she uses a soft tone, patient, and respectful. Number six, she claims to be a giver, unselfish and selfless. Number seven, she's classy and ladylike, respectable yet attractive girly appearance. Number eight, she's humble and feminine. Yeah, what man wouldn't like this, right? One who isn't masculine or dominant. Number nine, she's nurturing and compassionate, and she shows empathy. 10, she claims not to be on social media, but when you visit her page, it appears to have been wiped clean, right? Very few pictures. Number 11, she doesn't discuss her personal business. Sketchy, but all right, nothing to judge there, right? She doesn't discuss her past relationships or partners in a negative sense, or she just opts out of discussing them at all. And lastly, she might make an honest living, so she's not or claims to not be into sex work or selling her body or her time. This is what I call the soft girl persona. Yeah. Pleasant to the eye, the ear, the spirit, the soul, right? Now, why would anybody use a persona that promotes good intentions? Because clearly a person of good intentions could just be confident in themselves, right? And just be themselves, right? I can't think of one good reason why someone would hide good intentions from anybody, but I can think of many reasons why somebody would hide their intentions from somebody. And over the last couple of days, in efforts to come up with this video, I did not interview women, but I spoke to at least 4 different women to get their perspectives on what's going on here. And the thing I came up with is this whole concept or topic about a woman looking for a provider, a 100% provider at that, right? And I asked questions. I'm very inquisitive and non-judgmental, and I wanted to see, if I can learn something from this. And I collected a lot of information, and I was able to draw up a contract that doesn't exist, but this is what I would call the modernized traditional contract. Right. And this is based on all of the information I collected. And this is strictly reserved for men, by the way. These women imply that if a man of any kind, whether it's her brother, uncle, father, boyfriend, takes them out, them can be her and others. He is required to pay 100% of all financial obligations involving the vetting, the courtship leading to the domestication of a woman, and to supersede marriage in all relationships with no regard to his asset protection. Yeah, they're not concerned with him being concerned with losing his assets, right? The current state of the economy, they're simply going to tell you, bro, you need to make more money. Then, if you can't afford to do these things, make more money. Okay. His objections or rational concerns, bro, you don't like it, go elsewhere. A guaranteed return on his financial investments. There shouldn't be any cap or limitations to what he'll do for this woman. And he shouldn't be concerned with the woman's character, motives, or intentions. He should just be doing it. Furthermore, as if we needed more, right? It should be done automatically without discussion. Okay. There should be no prior boundaries or expectations set in place by the man. It should be done without a woman having to ask. Yeah, she'll say, if I have to ask, I don't really want it. Right. And otherwise, the unofficial contract is void, and the woman reserves all rights to previous investments, no refunds. This includes in the event of tragedy or disaster and the man is now unable to provide 100%, no refunds. Now, there's some variations of this unofficial contract, right, where gender roles can be stipulated, where this implies that in exchange for a man paying 100% of the bills, the woman will assume all household and parenting duties. But this varies, as some women will still require assistance with household and parenting duties in addition to a man paying 100% of the bills. Some women would opt out of this stipulation entirely, right? She can't tell you this up front. She has to maintain her soft girl persona, right? No self-respecting man would adhere to this agreement. That is why she has to put on a front, But I thought it made me think, man, like, damn, this is a cold game. But anybody who needs to hide who they really are, including but not limited to her character, her motives and intentions, her history or background, her present status or circumstances, is pretentious and is suffering a personality disorder. I was like, I couldn't think of anything else. This got to be based on a personality disorder. And I'm going to assume that if someone is trying to deceive me by way of their character, the direct defect directly correlates with the personality of this person. Not like they're trying to sell me a box full of bricks disguised as a TV, or trying to hand me counterfeit money in exchange for products or services, but rather to exchange my trust in exchange or to receive my trust in exchange for a completely fabricated facade of who they are and their intentionality. Yeah. So I delved deeper, and I know a little bit about personality disorders, but I did some research on personality disorders that are most likely prone to lying, because there's 13 plus personality disorders. And so I did the research to see like which ones are more prone to lying, you know what I'm saying? And I came up with antisocial personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, and borderline personality disorder. I'm going to break them down for you real quick. Antisocial personality disorder is a mental health condition marked by a long-term pattern of manipulation, exploitation, and violating the rights of others. People with ASPD often break rules or laws, act impulsively, and show no guilt or remorse for their harmful actions. Common signs and behaviors: lying and cheating, using charm or wit to trick and use other people for their own personal gain, disregard for rules, breaking laws repeatedly and ignoring safe behaviors for self and others. They can be aggressive, being hostile and irritable and prone to physical fights. No remorse, feeling indifferent or making excuses after hurting someone. Irresponsibility, failing to keep a job or pay their bills on time. And then I went to the narcissistic personality disorder. It's also a mental health condition marked by a long pattern of extreme self-importance, a constant need for deep admiration, and a clear lack of empathy for other people. People with this condition often experience troubled relationships and have difficulty handling any type of criticism. Key signs and symptoms are a massive sense of self-importance and hidden or open grandiosity, fantasies about having endless power, brilliance, success, or beauty, a strong belief that they are unique and should be mixed with high status people, a deep need for constant praise and special treatment, using and taking advantage of other people to get what they want. There's some subtypes of this NPD. Grandiose narcissism shows up as loud, arrogant, pride, or bossy attitudes or behaviors. And then you have vulnerable narcissists, shows up as highly sensitive, deeply shamed, and quiet, dealing with self-doubt. And then lastly, the research I did on borderline personality disorder, also a mental health condition marked with unstable moods, intense relationships, poor self-image, and impulsive behavior. People with BPD often have a deep fear of being left alone and struggle to manage strong emotions. Key signs and symptoms are fear of abandonment, going to great lengths to avoid real or imagined rejection, unstable relationships, switching quickly from loving someone to hating them, unclear self-image, rapidly changing goals, values, and feelings about oneself, impulsive acts, engaging in risky behavior like reckless driving, binge eating, and spending too much money, self-harm, threats of or acts of self-injury or suicidal behavior, extreme mood shifts, intense angers and sadness or anxiety that lasts for hours, empty feelings, a chronic sense of inner emptiness or boredom. Yeah, this is why she has to put on an act, right? Because she can't show you these things. She's going to maintain her soft girl image in order to hide this. This implies that she is very aware of what she's doing, right? Anybody that has to hide knows that what they're doing is wrong. And they're also showing you that whatever issues that they have not healed from them, and they have not changed them, and they're still currently in the mess. So this soft girl right here turns into this woman right here. Yeah. Okay. This is what you're dealing with behind the soft girl persona. A woman who isn't soft at all. A woman who will inevitably disrespect you, discard you if you do not apply or adhere to that traditional contract, that modernized traditional contract of being 100% a provider. And I get it. I understand back in the, I was going to say Stone Age, but I didn't want to sound sarcastic. Back in, medieval times, men were required to pay all the bills. A woman couldn't have a job, et cetera, et cetera. And there was a dynamic that made sense where the woman did everything else because she wasn't able to make money, or maybe this man just wants dominion over his household and he wants his wife to stay at home and not do nothing. These women, I'm not saying that there's a crime there in wanting that dynamic. I think the crime is when a woman feels like she needs to put on a facade in order to acquire this kind of treatment, because there's something about her character that's off. She doesn't deserve this. She is looking to exploit men. She isn't looking to make a fair exchange or do her part. And that has been my constant experience. I most recently went on a date, and then I'm going to bring this video to a close, with a woman. And everything was subpar. It was it wasn't a good or a bad date, but after the date, I had conversations with her, and the conversation of a man being a trick came up. And she tried to act like she didn't know what a trick. She said, "What's a trick?" And I said, "You don't know what a trick is?" She was like, "No, what is that?" I said, "A man who uses his money to gain access to a woman's body." And she said, "So wait, if a man sends me money because I said something like I was hungry, that's being a trick?" I said, "Well, is he your boyfriend?" She said, "No." I said, "Yeah, well, then he's tricking." And she was like, "Well, shoot, if he's spending it, I'm taking it." I was like, "Well, do you like him?" She said, "No." I said, "Where'd you meet him?" She said, "Online dating." I said, "So you were matching with people that you don't like?" She said, "Well, I did like him, but he catfished me." I said, "In what way?" She said, "When I met him, he was slightly heavier than his pictures. And she said, also, I didn't like the way he walked, and he didn't have no neck." True story. She said the man didn't have no neck. And I said to her, that should have been the end of your interaction. Why didn't you cut him off at that point? She said, "Well, I don't like to block people." This is something that you will hear from modern women. That's why I feel like telling these stories are important, because there's going to be another woman that says these same things to you potentially. They don't like to block people. This is very narcissistic, because this is what they call forming a harem garage. It's like they don't get rid of anybody. They just push you and discard you and throw you to the side, and then they allow you to pursue at your own risk. So that's what happened. And she said this man continued to ask her questions and text her and say, "Good morning, beautiful." He was talking to himself. He didn't even understand it. And I felt sorry for the man, kind of, because you should be up on game at this point. This man was older than me. But she says that he would ask questions, and she said her own words to me were like, I was very irritated with him asking questions. So when he was like, "Did you eat yet today?" or something like that, and she says, "No, why you keep asking me that? Are you gonna send me money?" She says that the man must have felt pressured to send her some money, so he cashed apped her $50 for food. Right now I'm already thinking like, this is the type of woman that takes money from people that she does not like. Manipulative, a user. She goes on to tell me that he also went online and bought her a sexy black dress because he took her to an R&B music concert at a casino, and he wanted to match colors, and she accepted. Again, I said, why are you taking things from a man that you do not like? Don't you know that men can become enraged and do some crazy things? She also said, well, that's why whenever I go on the date, I have to drive myself. I said, that is not saving you. Right. And she said, if a man's gonna spend it, I'm taking it. And obviously that exposed her true nature and her true character. This girl led with the soft girl persona in order to get my attention. But learning this newfound information, because I have this thing about me where I'm able to get a woman to talk in order to extract information. And she ran off at the mouth. Like I say all the time, she ran off at the mouth and told me everything I needed to know about her character. But she didn't leave with that. If she would have told me she likes to use men and she takes money from people that she don't like, I would have known she wasn't a woman of integrity. And that's by far the woman I'm looking for. That I'm not looking for no woman like that. Right. So this is what's going on and what's the truth behind the soft girl persona. And it's very important as us men to don't judge. Don't think that every woman who is soft and feminine and is being fake, but don't buy into this soft girl persona crap. There's a motive behind that. And as you can see by this video, you might want to ask questions about how she feels about, you know, what a man, you know, what value she looks for in a man. Like I always say, that's one of my go-to questions. I like to ask a woman what values, because that's going to start that conversation on what she's looking for right there. And this woman, she didn't tell me that. She led me to believe that she had no superficial preferences as far as a man and his income and his race and his height and his build and things like that. That's why I proceeded. And that's why I did this video, because I was soon exposed with the truth behind the soft girl persona. I hope this video helps you out. If it did, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe. If you are new to my channel, my name is Jerome, and this has been another episode of The Superb Word. And until next time, be safe. 2 fingers.